Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, we'll hear from Variety's Brent Lang as he unpacks his latest cover story. It asks and it answers two big questions. Who is Josh D'Amaro, and what does the future look like for Disney? But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Lauryn Hill, Pink, Wu-Tang Clan, Luther Vandross, and Shakira are among this year's first-time nominees for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The selections from 1,200 voters for the hall will be revealed in April. Charlemagne the God's Black Effect Podcast Festival is coming to Atlanta. The event is scheduled for April 25th. The event organizers promise that the traveling festival's popular Pitch Your Podcast booth will be back. HBO has renewed its high-finance drama Industry for a fifth and final season. Metallica has set a residency at the Sphere in Las Vegas. It'll run across the 4 weekends in October. For some fans, nothing else matters. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. We'll turn to our conversation with Variety's Brent Lang on his cover story right after this message.
The Actor Awards, presented by SAG-AFTRA, are back and live only on Netflix, Sunday, March 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Award-winning actress and producer Kristen Bell is back to host again. This is the award show that looks just as fun to watch from home as it is to attend. Get ready for fun reunions, unexpected pairings, the iconic I'm an Actor segment, and more. And this year, there's even a fashion theme, reimagining Hollywood glamour from the 20s and 30s. So you won't want to miss the star-studded red carpet pre-show hosted by Paige DeSorbo and Scott Evans. The Actor Awards are live only on Netflix, Sunday, March 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
And now it's time for conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. Brent Lang, Variety's executive editor, joins me to talk about this week's Variety cover story published today in print and online. Brent Lang, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Once we got the big news of the transition at Disney on February 3rd, you pretty much dropped everything and started working on what is our cover story this week, which is a profile of Josh D'Amaro, the new CEO, or will be on March 18th, and also a look at the challenges, opportunities that Disney faces. And we also have an infographic that just looks at the vastness of Disney and looks at their key revenue drivers, their engines of profit. CEO transition obviously is a good opportunity to take a step back and look at the whole forest. And so let me ask you, what were some of the surprising things that you found when you set out on this story that had two prongs? Who is Josh D'Amaro and what's next for Disney?
Well, it was an interesting challenge, partly because Josh D'Amaro did not participate in this story, but we were able to really talk to a very wide network of people who had worked with him over the years, of people who were Disney adults, parks enthusiasts. And I think we were able to get a very interesting picture of this person who's going to lead what's, probably the most complex, largest media company going right now. And I think what you sort of saw is that, this person was almost like genetically engineered to be the CEO of Disney. I mean, he just has this kind of wholesomeness and this, we said in the story, I think he has this aura of affability that seem like really well positioned to take over from Bob Iger, who had his own kind of charisma. And I think when you look at what didn't work with this succession with Bob Chapek, a lot of that had to do with not that Bob Chapek wasn't a capable executive, but just he didn't have that sort of it factor, that sizzle that, Disney CEOs historically have had to do. It's a very public facing role for a corporate executive when you're running a company like this.
Disney has that extra burden of being this public brand in a way that even Warner Brothers or Paramount or even Netflix, although Netflix does have a taste of it because it has become now so synonymous with the future of television. But Disney is imbued with Americana and apple pie and all of that good stuff. And you do have to be a showman. DeMauro certainly seems well equipped. And for so many years, the studio was seen as the absolute centerpiece, and theme parks and other things were more the spokes of the wheel. And that is really changing. And I know that's hard for Hollywood to that's hard for Hollywood to absorb. How do you think that the leadership transition, all of that is going to play out in terms of the changing fortunes of the studio versus parks and experiences?
Well, I think if you look actually at the most recent quarter that Disney had, it's right there and, kind of neon, where you had the parks division top $10 billion in revenue for the first time in its history. And that was responsible, and it was also responsible for 71% of Disney's operating income. And that came as the entertainment division's profits declined by 35% and ESPN's operating income dropped by 23%. So obviously the heat and the growth of this company is really in that experiences division that Josh oversaw. And I think that's partly why Wall Street is feeling fairly confident that he is still going to be in a leadership role here, because they really see that as the key driver of Disney's future success. And a lot of that is just when you look at the media business right now, it is so challenged. It is so complicated to navigate this transition to streaming. And right now, people are feeling very good about DeMauro and feeling very good about the qualities that he brings to this role. But I think it still remains to be seen if he will be the one to figure out how to solve this kind of unsolvable equation, which is just that cable for so long was such a massive source of revenue and profits. The margins were so enviable. And as the cable business declines in favor of streaming, the streaming revenue has yet to replace the money that was being made by cable. And nobody can figure this out. They have not been able to figure out how to kind of master this transition. So will DeMauro and Dana Walden, who has gotten a big promotion as well, be able to do what others, have not been able to? I mean, I think that remains to be seen. And on that really hinges a lot of Disney's future.
I think to Disney's credit, to Bob Iger's credit, he pushed them to go for it with Disney Plus. They're in the best position of any of the legacy companies, but it was somebody coined the term more than 15 years ago, and it's really held true. Hollywood is in unenviable position of trading analog dollars for digital pennies. Key question, Brent. Did you get a sense of Josh and his own entertainment appetites? Like, obviously, we know he's a theme park guy, but did you get the sense he's somebody that loves movies? Does he love music? Does he love yoga? Any sense about him?
I didn't get a sense of in terms of what his entertainment consumption is. I got more of a sense of kind of what he's like as a leader. I know that he likes the Peter Pan ride at Disneyland, but I think what he's able to do is he has a lot of emotional intelligence. For example, during COVID, when everybody was working remotely, where he has a name tag, he would actually write in the emotions he was feeling that day. And he's been known to pick up trash on Main Street at Disneyland. He knows the park guards. When Disney had to lay off all of these cast members, Josh actually went to the park and met with them and allowed them to kind of vent and voice their frustration. So he has a lot of qualities that you would look to in a leader. Now, that said, he's also been able to avoid a lot of the major controversies that have kind of bedeviled Disney in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
Don't Say Gay, that whole explosion that really fell on Chapek, or the situation with Jimmy Kimmel had to be handled by Dana Walden and Bob Iger. So, it's unclear kind of how he will handle that type of stress.
He's now Disney's chief executive in terms of dealing with Ron DeSantis and Florida politics. I won't blow all of your anecdotes, but your story does a great job of painting this picture of somebody who is a Disney lifer.
The other thing that's interesting is that when you look at Disney as a brand, is still the kind of preeminent brand. And when you look at sort of what Bob Iger did as CEO, a lot of that was to reinforce that brand by going out there and amassing as much intellectual property as possible. So that's why he bought Pixar and Marvel and Lucasfilm, which controls Star Wars. But I think what DeMauro and Dana Walden face is that may not be enough anymore when you look at sort of how technology has changed. they're not just facing competition from Comcast or Netflix or Warner Brothers. They're facing competition from YouTube, which is where a lot of younger viewers who might have gone to Disney, who might have gone to the Disney Channel in previous generations are increasingly spending time. And then they also face a problem of AI, which is definitely lowering costs and could lower costs for Disney and its very expensive animation that it produces. But it also means that it's leveling the playing field so that somebody could theoretically create an animated product without the backing of a major studio that is as popular and as compelling as anything that Disney has produced to this point.
And they are even tiptoeing into that with their licensing agreement with OpenAI and their Sora platform. The challenges of Disney and all the other transition that's going on at the studios are immense. Absolutely immense. I think we cannot discount that. So no shortage of things for us to cover. And Brent, really thank you for doing this. You've painted a real full picture, very fair, very clear-eyed, but illustrating the challenges of leading the company at this time.
Well, thanks for having me. And I have to say it was a really interesting experience to get to report on him.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. Don't miss my colleague Ethan Shanfeld's great feature published this week in print and online about his adventures at an open casting call held last week for Fox's reboot of Baywatch. He takes a Plimpton-esque journey through the hopes and dreams of hundreds of aspiring actors who turned out on a Wednesday morning in Marina del Rey. In Ethan's hands, you won't forget it. Friday brings Season 8 of Netflix's Formula One docuseries Drive to Survive. It should be a dramatic 10 episodes as it covers the big move by superstar driver Lewis Hamilton from Mercedes to Ferrari last year. Friday is also the night when cutters celebrate their own. Variety's Jazz Tanke will cover the Ace Eddie Awards ceremony honoring excellence in film and TV editing. We love to hear from listeners, so please send thoughts, gripes, and other feedback about Daily Variety to podcasts@variety.com. Before we go, congrats to Karen Horn. She's been named Executive Director of the Writers Colony Talent Development Program, supported by showrunner Mara Braca Keel. Horn previously worked as a diversity, equity, and inclusion executive at Warner Brothers Discovery and NBC Universal. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Brent Lang. Stick, snicks, hick, picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.